Hello guys, welcome to the video tutorial on connecting and using Microsoft Access database with your Visual Basic Windows Form application project. So let's get started. I have this database here. I have already created this database and my database name is employee data. Okay, and I have some columns here which are employee ID, EID, first name, last name, date of birth, country, phone, and pay. And I also have some data in this table of my database, and which is from employee ID 1 to employee ID 13. Okay. So now once you have your database created and you have some data in it, you can just go to your Visual Studio and you can create a new Visual Basic project. So what I'm going to do is I will click this new project and I'm going to make Windows Form application, and in here I will change the name of my project as Access DB tutorial, and I will click OK. This will create a project for us, and I think you might know the basics of Visual Basic. This is the Solution Explorer and this is our toolbox. And what is most important to connect your database with your Visual Studio project is this section called data source. Okay, so if you don't see this section here, you can go to view and go to other windows and you can find this data source from here also, right? So now just go to this data source and we are going to create a new data source from here. Okay, so I will say new data source. Just click this small icon on the left and this will open this wizard for you, database wizard. Just select this database here and click next, and once again click data set here and click next. And now you need to create the connection with your Access database. Okay, right now I don't have any connection, right? So for making the connection with your Access database, you need to know where your database is in your computer. So for example, this database, which is employee info database, is present in my somewhere in my computer and in my Access database folder. So this is the path to my database file. Okay, so just search for wherever you have created and saved your database. The path you must know. Okay, once again I will go to my Visual Basic wizard here and I will say new connection, and we are going to change the connection and we will choose here Microsoft Access database file. Okay, select this first option here and click OK, and this will open this add connections here, and you can now browse to the location where you have your database. Okay, so just copy the path here, go to your project, paste your path here, and you will reach to the destination of your database. So select your database here and click open. And for checking the connection with your database, if your connection is successful or not, you can click this test connection, and if you see this test connection succeed, then you are connected to your database. Now click OK and you will be able to see this employee or whatever your database name .accdb connection. Next, you will click the next button and you will see this message. So read this message carefully. The connection you selected uses local database file that is not in the current project. So it's saying that the connection you have created with the access database, it's not present in your working directory of your project. Okay, so my project, for example, is located in somewhere in my Visual Studio folder, and there is a folder there called projects, and my project is here. So where is my project? I will search for it. And in case you will not find your project you recently created, you can just go back to your Visual Studio 2010 or whatever version you have, and go to the backup files here, because you haven't saved your project till now. It will be in your backup file. So here you have Access DB tutorial. So this is my database, and here right now I don't have anything, right? Which is this. So I'm this wizard is asking me if this database is present in my project folder or not. So this is not present, right? So I will say yes, and if you click yes button, Visual Basic or Visual Studio will copy your database to your working project. So I will click yes. Or if you don't need to copy this database to your project, you can click no, and the connection will be fine. There will be no difficulty. But I will say yes for now. And now it will create a connection string which is called employee info connection string. I will leave it as default and click next. And now you will be able to see the tables here. So if you want, you can select all the columns you want to show in your or you want to use in your project. So I will just select this top button or the top check box, and it will click all the check boxes, and I will click finish. So now I have one data source which is connected to Microsoft Access database. Okay. Now first thing I will do is I will save my project. So I will click this button, save all, and it will give me save project option, and all the things are default. I will click save, and as soon as I click save, my project will be saved here. Okay. So now my project is saved. I can check it whether it's present in my project folder or not. So once you save, it will go into Visual Basic projects, and you can see here Access Database Tutorial project. And once again, when I go inside this folder, you will be able to see this employee info connection or database here in this folder. So that's what I meant by uh, copying your database into your working project. Okay, now that's done. Now just go to this data source here, what just and you can just pin it this here, so you will be able to see it always. And what you need to do is just click this database name here, which is employee data in my case, and when you click this small combo box button here, you will see data grid view and details. So just select details for now. Select this details. So I have selected. There will be no change here. You will be able to see, but details is selected right now. Okay. Now what you need to do is just select your database and drag and drop into your form. Okay. So what you need to do, you just need to select this database and drag and drop into the form. Okay. So I dragged and drop into the form, and as soon as you drop this database into your form, you will be able to see all these text boxes and labels with the real name of your columns which you have here. So I have EID, first name, last name, date of birth, which is DOB, country, phone, and pay. You will be able to see all here. EID, first name, last name, DOB, country, phone and pay. And this Visual Basic even recognizes that this DOB is a date time data type. So if you see here, this DOB is the date of birth, right? And this, when I go to the design view, this DOB is a date time data type. So it recognizes that it's a date time data type and it will give you this date time tool for you. Okay, so I will give you the demonstration for that, but let's make our form a little bit bigger. You will be able to see these connection binding source, connection data table adapter, and all these things here also. Now for example, I want a table in my form and I want to see all the data which is in my database table, access database table, right? So what I'm going to do is I will go to my toolbox, which is this one, and I will select data grid view here. And as soon as I select my data grid view, let me just resize it so I can see my data. Okay, so I resize it, and once you have resized it, just go to this small little button, triangle button here, and right now there is no data source, so you need to choose data source. Go here, choose data source, and you will be able to see your employee data binding source, or whatever name of your database, you will be able to see the binding source for that. So my database name is employee data, so I will select this, and as soon as you select this, you will be able to see all the columns from your database in your data grid view or table. You can also select this enable column rendering, and just you will be able to see this here. Now once you have done, you have everything. You have table, you have text boxes to enter the data, and you have labels to indicate which data represent what. Now you can run your data, or you run your project, and you will be able to see all the data which is present in my database, which is from employee ID 1 to 13 in here in this table. I can even navigate through the this table by clicking this button, move next. So this will move next, 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 like this, right? And move previous. You can even go to the last data and first data by clicking these buttons. You can add an employee also, or you can add a new data by clicking this plus sign, and as soon as you click this button, your cursor goes to here. So right now I have 13 employee. I will add the 14th employee, 14, and the name is Paul, for example, some surname, and the date of birth. I can choose the date of birth from here. So I will select first of all year. Year is 1980. April, for example, February. Country is USA, for example. Phone number is 123456789. Okay, and pay is, for example, 40 dollars per hour. Okay, and once you have entered your data, you can just click the save data, and you will be able to see your data here, right? Now, if you might be wondering if this data you changed is edited here also. So let me refresh my data, and you will see, if you see that your data is not refreshing here, then probably you are opening the wrong database. So as I have told you, your database is your database location was here in wherever you have saved your database. But once you have clicked that yes button when I was running the wizard, it has copied your database in your project folder, right? So project access database. In here I have bin folder. Go to bin, go to debug, and your database is this one, right? Your database is copied to this debug folder of yours. So this database is copied to this debug folder. So now the working copy of access database is not the original place or original folder at which you have saved your database, but your project folder, and in that bin and debug folder. So this is your database. And when I open this database, right click and open or open with Access, Microsoft Access, now you will be able to see your database and all the changes. I will say enable, okay, and I will open this table. And you see the 14th employee is added here. So just remember here, remember this, that your database is copied to your working directory of your Visual Basic project. Okay. Once again, I want to add a new employee. Add 15, employee ID 15, some name, some surname, and date of birth. For example, I will choose country. I will choose UK, for example. Phone, once again, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and pay, his pay is $38 per hour. Okay, and I will save this button, or I will click the save button, and my data is added here. And once you go to your database once again, refresh it, and your data you will be able to see in this access database also. Okay, and you can even delete your data by clicking this cross button. So in this way you can connect uh, the access database to your Visual Basic Windows Form Application project. Now I'm going to show you how you can manually add buttons for saving the data and adding the data and removing your data from the table. So let's get started. I will go to my toolbox, and in here I will choose three buttons, 1 2 3, and I will change their name. First button, select the button and change the text of this button as add new. Second button text as save, and third button text as delete. Okay, so now we have three buttons, and now what we can do is we can double click these buttons and write the code. But first of all, you may have noticed when you have connected your form with your Access database by dragging and dropping this data, employee data, or whatever database you have to your form, it will generate these tools here, which are dataset, whatever database you have, dataset, employee data binding source, employee data table adapter manager, and binding navigator. Okay, so just remember these names. We are going to use these names here. And first of all, we will use this add new button, and we will just double click this button, and in here we will write the code. So we will write, in case of whatever your database name is, just write the name of your database. So my database name is employee database, and just search for whatever binding source of that database. So you will be able to find, in my case, employee data binding source, whatever your database name is, but and after that binding source you need to search, or you need to just look here whatever is the binding source before your database name. Okay, so data, employee data binding source dot add new. Okay, once again go to the save button and double click it, and in here you need to write, first of all we will add a try catch block. So Just write, sorry. Okay, so we will write try and press enter. It will give us this try catch code. And what this try catch does is, if any error occurs while you save your data, it will catch the exception and show you some message, whatever message you want to show. Otherwise it will save the data. So in case of error condition, this try catch code helps. Okay, now inside this try catch code, what you can do is you can write employee data, which is my employee data base name dot data source. So just search for the binding source dot and add it. Okay, and then in the next line you need to write once again employee data and search for the table adopter. Okay, so employee data table adopter, right? Dot update. So just write update, and in the brackets you need to write the data set whatever you have. In my case, my data set name is employee info data set. Just write employee info data set dot the database name. So my database name is employee data. Okay, so just write this. And in the case of success, you can even show the message. So you can write message dot show, and you can give some message here. I will give some message like data saved. Okay, so this should be message box. Okay, and now we have message. Now in the case of remove data, or in the case of any error, what you can do is you can show the error. So just after this catch code, and before this and try block, you need just copy and paste this message dot show message, and you can say error occurred while saving data. Okay, and now we'll just once again go to my window, and I will select delete button and double click it, and in here once again I will write employee employee data binding source dot remove current. Okay, so just remember you need to write this. And now when I will run my code, hopefully I will be able to add new data and save it and delete it also. So let's try to add the data. I will click add a new, and it goes to the last line, and I will add a new data, for example employee 14, some name, some surname, date of birth. I will select from here for example, and country, and phone number, and pay. So $30 per hour. And then I will click the save button, and you see data saved. You will see this message, and you click OK, and this 14th employee is added to your list. Now for example you want to delete this, you just select this and say delete, and it's deleted from your data, right? So from this button you can add new data, and you can give new data here, and whenever you click save, it will save your data, and whenever you want to delete, it will delete your data. Okay, So in this way you can add buttons to add data, save data, and delete your data using your Visual Basic Windows Form application. Now I'm going to show you how you can show the number of row count uh, in here in some label at real time. So for example, I have this table here, right? And I want to know how many rows of data I have, and I want to show it here in the message, because this data will change. You will delete some data, you will add some data, and in case of a big data, for example thousands of rows, if you need to know of how many rows or how many the number of data I have or how many employees I have in my case, then I can show it here, and I will show you how you can do it. Okay, so what you need to do first is just go to your toolbar box and search for the tool called timer and drag and drop into your form. And as soon as you will drag and drop this timer into your form, you will see it will not go directly into your form, but it will go here at the bottom. Okay, so it's fine that it goes here, and its name is timer1. Okay, so just remember the name. Now the second thing what you need to do is just select your form as a whole. So you need to select your form anywhere, not any tool, but the form as a whole. Okay, and double click it, and you will reach to the form load event of your project. Okay, so just see that it's a form load event, and in here just go down, and in here you need to write timer 1, which is our timer name, dot start. And what this code will do is, as soon as your uh, form will load, or as soon as you will start running your program, this timer will start. Okay, so this is the code which will start your timer. Okay, now once again go to your design view, and in here select your timer tool from here. Just select it and double click it, and you will go to the timer 1 tick event. Okay, and in here what we are going to do is we will declare a variable which is int. So we will say dim count as integer. Okay, and in the next line I will say count is equal to, and then I will take the name of my employee binding source. So my employee data binding source name is employee data binding source, right? So I will say employee data binding source dot count. Okay, and now in the next line what I will do is I will show this count in the label. So I will go to my design view, and I will take a label from my toolbox. So search for the label. Yeah, it is. So I will drag and drop a label here in my toolbox, and uh, I will increase the font size of this label so we can see it. So I will go to the label properties here, and I will search for the property called font. Click this property, and in here I will select bold 14 or 16. Okay, so now we will be able to see our label better. Okay, and now what you need to do is once again go to this timer tick event, or just select your timer 1 and double click it, and in here we will write label 1, which is the name of our label. Okay, in case you don't know how to know the name of the label, just select your label and see in the properties what is the name of your label. By default it will be label 1, but yeah, you can see it like this. So you can say label dot text is equal to count. Okay, so you can just show the count or number of rows in your label. But just to make it a little bit better, can add the text to it. So I can say there are, and then I will give a plus sign here, which will concatenate our string and this count. And once again I will give a plus sign, and I will once again give these double quotes, and I will say there are this much amount of, you need to go to this count variable and just write dot to string. So this will convert your integer to your to the string. Okay, now when I run the program, and now you can see there are 12 employee, right? So I can count the number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, right? So it gives me the right data. For example, I will add a new data. So I will say add new, and I will give a new data for employee ID 14, some name, some surname, and country USA, phone number, and pay, and I will say save data. So data is saved, and now it will refresh. So you may have observed that whenever I click this add new here, your count will increase. So I will once again add new, and your count will increase. And for example, I will add 15th employee name and country name, year. Okay, once again, and I want to choose this year, this date. Okay, and the phone number and the pay, and save. Okay, so you will see the number of employee changing here whenever you add some data or remove some data. So for example, I will select this and remove this, your number of employee immediately updates, right? So in this way you can count the number of rows in your table at real time. Now I'm going to show you how you can link a chart control with your database and show it into your Visual Basic Windows form. So let's get started. First of all, what you need to do is go to your toolbox and search for the control called chart control. It will be in, let's see where it is. It will be in this data section here. So just drag and drop this chart control from here and place it into your form. And this is our chart control. Okay, you can resize your chart control because it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is our chart control, right? Now in order to connect the database to this chart control, what you can do is just select your chart from here and go to the properties of this chart and search for the property called data source. By default this property is none, so just click this combo box here and just select your employee data binding source. Because we have already binded our database with this project, you will be able to see your database name plus binding source here. Otherwise, if you don't see it here, you need to go to this add project data source, and once again you need to add the data source, right? So from here you can add the data source as I have shown you in the first video of this series. So just select this employee data source, data binding source, or whatever database name you have plus the binding source, and just select it. Now this next step is to go further down and search for the property called series here. Okay, so search for the property called series, and this series in here you can add a new x and y axis to your chart. So I will search for the data source here. Just go to data source, and in here I can choose x value member and y value member. So for example, I want to show first name on the x value member as of on the x-axis, and I want to show the pay of the employee on the y-axis. Okay, so I will select this, and when you go further down, you will be able to, or here in the chart section here, you can select the type, chart type, whatever you want to select. It has bar chart, stakes chart, line chart, pie chart, and yeah, all kind of possible chart. I will leave it as default as column chart for now, and I will click OK. And now when I run the program, I can see the name versus age chart, and I can verify this name versus age chart also. And because our name length is more or greater than this bar chart, so it's hiding some names for now. So what we can do is we can just go to our property once again. So just search for the property called chart area here, and in the collection just click the small button once again, and in here go to access and click this access collection once again, and click the small button here, and you will see x-axis, y-axis, secondary x-axis and secondary y-axis. So our names are on x-axis, right? So select x-axis and then search for the property called interval here. So in the interval property, by default it's auto. Interval is auto. So what you need to do is just delete this auto from here and make it 1. So it will make your interval 1, and click OK and click OK. And now when you run the program, you will see all the names in front of your bars. So Julie, Paul, local, or whatever names are there, they will be shown in front of these bars. So you can play with these properties in this series, and you can just choose the type which you want to show, and you can play with the properties in this chart area, and you can just uh, customize your chart with these. So I hope you have understood the basic concept. Bye for now.